what's going on within the MAGA movement. I know that you care a lot about what is going on in the United States and the support to Donald Trump being elected in the United States. The new trend in the Republican Party is the attack on Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and they're trying to cancel them. Thomas Massey was somehow the Jewish lobby, Miriam Adelson, the same person who convinced Donald Trump to move the US embassy to Jerusalem, and who's supporting to this day Donald Trump and his policy and these pro Israeli policies in Gaza, in Palestine, is going against Thomas Massey to remove him from his position in the United States. What is your take on what's going on within the MAGA movement?
First, let me ask you, who is taking the lead in trying to remove Massey?
His Miriam Adelson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, she's got a lot of money and it'll speak loudly. um, you know, I don't think I can answer that with any conviction. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are uh, holding Israel accountable for the enormous crimes which they clearly created. I saw today that the prosecutor general in the state of Turkey has now issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu for genocide. So things are starting to kind of, well, I couldn't say they're turning against Israel, but people are starting to speak up more. And a lot of the younger people in the MAGA movement are convinced that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he was leading, he had started criticizing Israel, and he was leading the youth in the MAGA movement away from the commitment to Israel. And this was seen as very dangerous because the youth would be the rising generation and then fairly soon decision makers, and so they eliminated him. All of this shows that Israel is feeling a bit shaky compared to what they're accustomed to feeling. And it also shows a separation between the youth, including the ones in universities, who have been oppressed for criticizing Israel. But it shows sort of a split between the young MAGAs and the old MAGAs. A lot of the old MAGAs are Christian Zionists, and they go to evangelical churches where they learn that it's America's fate to protect Israel. It's God's will for America to die for Israel. And so you've got two different views now inside the MAGA movement of Israel. Now, why is it important? Israel's a tiny little place and all of that. Well, they've essentially bought and owned the United States. They own the Congress, the media, entertainment, Wall Street. I mean, the universities, some of the states. We've talked about it before. They're red states, like even real red states like Texas and Florida, in which the state governors have supported laws and gotten them passed. That if you criticize Israel, you can't work for the state, you can't have a state contract. So that's a powerful position that they have, and to see the kinds of attacks that Candace Owens is now making, that Tucker has made, that the people Tucker interviews sometimes, this has to be disturbing to them. And I don't know what's going to happen to the Charlie Kirk movement because a lot of, as I understand it, a lot of the younger MAGA people think Israel is taking it over, that the Israeli money has come in again, and that Kirk's wife is just a figurehead, and that Israel has taken the movement back. And I read a report the other day, and it looks like Israel has now taken over the Conservative Heritage Foundation, or whatever it's called, Heritage in Washington, D.C. And so there's a split. How it goes, I don't know. Now, also among the MAGAs, there's always been a confusion, in my view. They want peace, but they also want America to deal with its enemies. So they're convinced that China and Russia and Iran are enemies. But they say they want peace, and I don't know how you reconcile that or how they reconcile it. I once had a professor at Oxford University who explained how people could hold simultaneously mutually inconsistent positions. I don't remember the explanation because I never had a reason to use it, and it wasn't a field that I went into. But it was a good explanation about how people can occupy two positions that are totally contradictory. Well, I think that's the case with some of the MAGA people. They want peace, but they want us to be tough with our enemies, and more weapon spending and all of this. So I don't know. I don't know whether MAGA consisted of several groups whose issues are different, but that Trump kind of was a blanket that covered all the issues. And so I don't know whether the importance of issues to the different groups will it cause more splits. I don't know. So I don't know what to say about it. We see the very interesting development of this Ma'am Danny, who's mayor of New York, and the what was once and perhaps still is the capital of international capitalism. now now has something of a communist or a mayor. It seems like it was the college-educated youth that was a big component of his victory. The white kids, the white upper class kids at Columbia and New York University and places that are so happy that he's enshrined. I suspect he'll make a big mess and he'll end up having to beg Trump for bailouts. And I have no idea what Trump's response would be. But other than that, I can't say anything about this MAGA movement. I suppose they're happy the border's closed, all of them. And you can't take that away from Trump. And he did do that. And he did put Robert Kennedy in to try to uh, scale back Big Pharma's domination of American medicine. Big Pharma dominates American medicine as effectively as Israel dominates American policy in the Middle East. And so he has some real accomplishments, and he's uh, tried to remove the status-based privileges that constitute diversity, equity, inclusion. He's tried to remove those as a basis for promotion in government and military and in corporations. And that's a good thing, because a country that's not merit-based isn't going to be successful. There's no way you can have a system that prefers the less able because of race or gender issues. Um, so you can't say the man's not successful. He's had really more success than presidents usually have, despite all the messes that are still in his hands. And some of the messes may be beyond any president's ability to deal with.
Paul, what's going on with Mamdani? Since you mentioned his name, he's the mayor. He's going to be the next mayor of New York. I see Mamdani the way that I was watching and was, pursuing the Trump's case. Because I remember Donald Trump when he came to talk, to negotiate, to confront, to debate, the other candidates within the Republican Party. The very moment that he captured the eyes of the audience, the ears of the audience, was the moment he was mentioning the war in Iraq. He said, I was against the war in Iraq. I didn't agree with the war in Iraq. Why did we do that? What was the outcome of that for the United States foreign policy and domestic policy? And he went on, and the people were just cheering the way that he was criticizing the status quo in the United States. The same has happened during the Mamdani. What has happened to him, in my opinion, the watershed moment. All of these candidates in New York were asked about, where do you want to go the day after being elected? Every candidate on stage, they said, we're going to go to Israel. Mamdani said, I'm going to stay in New York because I'm going to be the mayor of New York. I'm going to serve the people of New York. I don't care about it. And I'm not going to define the foreign policy of the United States because my mission is in New York. That's the position. It's somehow the people who are not satisfied with the status quo in the United States. They're trying to find, alternatives. And Trump came out of the same, sort of mindset. The people wanted some sort of change in the United States foreign policy, domestic policy. And Mamdani goes in the same direction, in my opinion. You look at 75% of the people under the age of 30, they voted for Mamdani. It's considerable. You look at the polls, and we have to consider what is he bringing to the table. And I think the only thing that we can say, we don't know what he's going to do, and if he's going to be able to do anything that he's talking about. But after all, the people see some sort of change in the rhetoric of these politicians, these people who want to be the next mayor of New York. That's the change, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's important. I agree with you. I mean, what competition did he have? The worn out old order, represented by Cuomo, and this unknown Republican that nobody knows anything about. And so it was the allegedly left-wing candidate that offered change, that's talking differently. And he's offering massive changes. So whether or not the people believe in the individual changes he's talking about or not, they see change, and they don't see it anywhere else. And the people running for the office, it wasn't the kind of choice that a city like New York should be presented with. And I agree with you, Matt Dammy said the right thing. And people are tired of status quo. In a way, he's like Trump, just as you pointed out. Trump probably ought to reach out to him and say, you get New York straight and I'll get the country straight and we'll work together. Because Mandela can't do any of the things he said without causing a financial crisis, and somebody's got to bail him out, and there's nobody to do it for Trump. So I often wondered why Trump didn't take all the offers from the Democrats to be a dictator. They were demanding he spend all kind of money without congressional authorization. Instead, they're moving to some settlement. He should have said, "Oh, thank you, federal judges. I'll take your appointment. You just made me dictator. I don't need congressional authorizations to spend money on 42 million Americans. So I assume I can spend the money elsewhere as well. Look, the airlines are having to cancel all kinds of flights, so I can spend money to keep them running and go on." So he could have just gotten rid of the Congress. We don't need it. That it's not functioning. And I suspect if Mandami wants to do anything, he'll have to do something like that in New York. In the past, I think mayors have found the New York City Council blocking them. And whether it's envy or jealousy or they're trying to discredit him because they want to run for mayor, I don't know, or they're not getting a big enough cut from the contracts, or and of course we don't know with Mandami whether this is anything other than a pose. You see, if he's mayor and his rent controls stop all private development, then the housing will come from his budget from the state building affordable housing. Well, these contracts have to be handed out. There are a lot of kickbacks or commissions, that's the polite word, for controlling contracts. So Mandami may simply see this as his chance to get really rich. He might not believe any of this. This just may be a scheme that he's using to become super rich. That's normal these days.
Yeah.
It's much more normal for somebody to want political office for self-enrichment than to serve the public interest. You never get rewarded for serving the public interest because the public never agrees on what its interest is. The public is a collection of different interests, and each one wants its interest served, and you can't serve them all because they conflict. So maybe that's just all it is. Mandami sees government as a way to have a career, get rich, and so he adopts a pose, and it works. Okay, there's no private housing, so I'm building it. And oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of a lot of commissions on these contracts. It's the way the military security complex works. The huge commissions from the weapon sales and all the rest. So it may be the notion that he's some kind of a communist or socialist. That's just a guise. We'll see. Or actually, we may never know. He seems to be smart, and he may be able to act this out and get away with it just by saying the right things.